Number 8. Reddit user named Jeff. In 2018, Susan Rainwater was the victim of a fatal hit and run while riding her bike along Route 7, south of Seattle. The body was discovered hundreds of feet away from her mangled bicycle by a passerby. There were no clues pointing to the identity of the driver or the model of the car, except for a small piece of plastic. The police posted a picture of the car part to Twitter, and it was later picked up by Reddit. A user named Jeff subsequently identified the piece as belonging to the headlight of a Chevrolet pickup. Jeff, who'd worked as a vehicle inspector in Maryland, named the model and went back to watching football. A few hours later, he reportedly saw the massive amount of attention his post had received and realized the full extent of his input. The police were able to use the information and track down the hit and run to a local man named Jeremy Simons. Reddit users applauded Jeff's contribution, and Rainwater's family expressed their gratitude. Today's video was requested by Sir Tattoo. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 7. Todd Matthews. In 1968, authorities found the decomposing body of a young woman wrapped in a tarp near Georgetown, Kentucky. For nearly 3 decades, she would only be known as Tent Girl. In 1971, it was this name that was inscribed on her tombstone, along with a police sketch of what she might have looked like alive. The woman's remains had been discovered by a man named Wilbur Riddle. During the 1980s, his daughter married Todd Matthews. The man became intensely interested in the case that still haunted his father-in-law. Matthews used the internet to search through numerous missing persons databases. In 1997, he set up his own website for Tent Girl to increase awareness about her case. His efforts proved successful in 1998, when Matthews found a description matching 24-year-old Barbara Ann Hackman Taylor. He contacted her family, and the authorities exhumed Tent Girl's body. Samples of her DNA matched those taken from other members of the Hackman family. The prime suspect in the woman's murder was her husband, George Earl Taylor, who died of cancer in 1987. He hadn't filed a missing person report and told the woman's family that she'd left him for another man. Number 6. Julian Hernandez. Julian Hernandez may have turned to Reddit in an effort to solve what he suspected was his own kidnapping. Either that or a user named Throwaway 08050049 had done it for him. The 18-year-old had problems with his social security number when he tried to apply for college scholarships. Julian talked to his school counselor, and the authorities started working on his case. Hernandez later learned that his father had kidnapped him when he was 5 years old. Instead of taking him to preschool, Bobby Hernandez had run away with the child in 2002. They moved 700 miles from Ohio to Alabama and lived with tampered records and assumed names. Julian's mother was overjoyed when she learned that he'd been found 13 years after she had printed missing posters about him. Julian never confirmed that he was Throwaway 08050049, and the post was later deleted, but other Reddit users in the thread were convinced of the connection. The teenager claimed he wasn't angry at his father for what he'd done. He remembered his father asking him, "If I ever committed a terrible crime, would you still love me?" Bobby Hernandez would, however, have to face legal consequences for records tampering. Number 5. Hate crime in Philadelphia. In 2011, 2 men in their 20s were severely beaten by a group of men who reportedly made disparaging remarks about their sexual orientation. The victims suffered multiple fractures and cuts after being repeatedly hit in the face and chest. One of them reportedly had to have his jaw wired shut. The authorities released a surveillance video of the attack. Twitter users then started working together in order to determine the identities of the assailants. This gave the authorities enough information to pursue the suspects. Number 4. Ellen Leach. Ellen Leach is among the internet's most effective amateur investigators. Since 2004, she's reportedly contributed to solving at least 8 cases across the United States. Leach's family couldn't afford to pay for higher education, so for over 20 years, she served prepared foods while working at a supermarket steam table. Using an outdated computer, she managed to dig up relevant information for a number of investigations. Perhaps Leach's best-known case is aiding a conviction in the murder of antique dealer Greg May. The man's skull was found in a bucket of cement at a Missouri truck stop. A forensics team reconstructed his face in an effort to determine his identity. In 2004, Leach was the one who matched the reconstruction to a photograph she'd seen on a missing person website. It was determined that May had been killed by his roommate, Doug DeBruin. He and his girlfriend worked together to kill and dismember the dealer in order to sell off his Civil War-era antiques. Number 3. Celia Blay. Under various aliases, William Francis Melcher Dinkle would enter online suicide chat rooms and encourage people to take their own lives or enter into false suicide pacts with them. Melcher Dinkle's confirmed victims were 18-year-old Canadian student Nadia Kajuji and 32-year-old Mark Drybrough, a British IT technician. Melcher Dinkle posed as a depressed woman in her 20s and assisted them in committing suicide. In Kajuji's case, the man suggested she hang herself, gave her instructions on how to do it, and reportedly watched her via webcam as per the terms of their supposed pact. He employed a similar MO with Drybrough and perhaps others. Melcher Dinkle, a former licensed nurse and a married father of 2, was ultimately caught thanks to the investigative work done by Celia Blay. In November 2006, Blay, a retired British schoolteacher, was told by a teenage friend in South America that she'd entered a suicide pact with a nurse online. Blay managed to convince the teenager not to go through with it, saving her life. She warned others online about a user named Lido, which was one of Melcher Dinkle's aliases. For months, Blay gathered evidence regarding the man's activity. She and a friend entered a suicide chat room and gained Melcher Dinkle's trust. They got enough information to determine his IP address and Minnesota residence. The FBI didn't act on the case, but Minnesota authorities agreed to take it. Melcher Dinkle was convicted in 2011 and spent 178 days in jail. Number 2. Bradley Willman. Anti-pedophile activist Bradley Willman used the internet to track down people who downloaded child pornography. He started his investigations in the 1990s under aliases Omnipotent and Garby. In the early 2000s, Willman used the Trojan horse to gain access to thousands of computers. He posted the virus as a picture file attached to a message on websites that would have been of interest to pedophiles. Once a computer was infected, Willman could search, access, and retrieve files from it. He helped authorities in Canada with a child molestation case and in 2001 found incriminating evidence on the computer of California Superior Judge Ronald C. Klein. Willman anonymously forwarded explicit excerpts from Klein's diary detailing his twisted sexual preferences to a pedophile watchdog site. When the authorities searched the judge's computer, they found more than 1,500 pornographic images of young children. The issue was that Willman had illegally obtained the first pieces of evidence against the judge. Nevertheless, after a long legal battle, Klein was sentenced to 27 months in prison.
Official They Will Kill You merchandise is now available at theywillkillyou.com. Some of it is to die for.
Number 1. William Moult. The remains of William Moult would have likely never been found if not for Google Earth and one Florida resident. In 1997, 40-year-old Moult had called his girlfriend from a nightclub and told her he was heading home. He never got there and was subsequently reported missing. For roughly 22 years, William Moult's fate would remain a mystery. Then in September 2019, Barry Fay, a former resident of a neighborhood in Wellington, Florida, used Google Earth to check out his previous residence. It was then that Fay noticed what looked like a submerged vehicle at the edge of a pond. He contacted one of the homeowners from the area, who confirmed Fay's suspicions by using a drone to explore the shoreline behind his house. The authorities then found Moult's heavily calcified sedan with his skeletal remains still inside. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click on one of the links on your screen for more videos.